Okay. The first thing I want to express is I'm going to move this down here. It doesn't matter where you put it, but move this down here a little bit, move this over. Oh, and you need to put something beside that P hat, and that's what that's called, P hat. Get used to it because that's a term that you need to know about. Not that you will actually use this, but when you hear it, you'll know what it means. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's not that complicated. You just put that X over N. Yes, that's true. If you have 500 people that you surveyed and 300 say that they have blue hair, then that'd be 300 over 500. It's a simple ratio, 4 over ratio. Okay? Now, the one thing that I want to show you that this book doesn't, and I can't stand this book because of it, is they don't tell you what Q is. If P hat is, let's say, 0.5 or 0.75, then what do you think Q hat is? Starts with a C. O, M, complement. So what would that be? 0.25. So Q hat is equal to 1 minus P hat, the complement. Now, if you'll look through all of these formulas, what do they use? They use 1 minus P hat. Most books don't use 1 minus P hat. What do they use? Q hat. Okay, so I'm telling you this. You use 1 minus P hat if you want to, or use Q hat. Most of the time when you see P hat or you calculate P hat, the next thing you should do is calculate what? Q hat, which you can do pretty much in your head. Okay? So that's one thing. And if you'll notice, I'll take my handy dandy highlighter. What's that? 1 minus P. 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 It's the same thing over and over. And it's a whole lot easier for you to remember Q than 1 minus P. And it's also good for you to remember that it's a complement, so whenever you find P, 0.65, you know that Q is 0.35. That's one of the stupidest things I think I've seen a book do, is take something that's simple and make it more complicated. And in my opinion, that's what they did. Now, some people say, well, it tells you what to do. Well, yeah, but you should know the complement of P is Q. So that's one of the little pet peeves that I want to get taken care of right quick. Now, as far as what I do on the board, that's going to be Q. I'm not going to sit here and say 1 minus P, 1 minus 0.65 is 0.35. I'm not going to do that 5,000 times. All right, I'm going to say Q. What is Q? 0.35 or 0.65 or whatever it is. All right, so that's the first thing.
So can it be P times Q hat?
Is there a
Like in the formula?
Most of the time, P and P hat is the same thing.
Okay.
Most of the time.
P and Q hat.
Yeah. But just remember, whenever you see P and Q, Q is the complement of P. P hat is the complement of Q hat. It's used with different. It's usually P and Q. Where?
I mean, you have to do that anyway. So
yeah, you have to do it whether you do the complement or whether you just do it in your head. You got to minus it from 1 or the remainder of whatever P is. All right, so that's the first thing. And what is that? This is, let me tell you what we're doing in this chapter 9 and 10. What we're doing is we're trying to find the undo arrow. That's what I'm trying to find. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Let me go to another page and put a text. You remember a long time ago I told y'all that our goal is to take a sample and run it through stats / probability. It's supposed to be stats. And predict. Not type today. I can't type anyway. And predict the outcome for the population. You remember me telling you about that? Take a sample and run it through our stats and probability knowledge that we've come across in the last 8 weeks and predict the outcome for the population. What does this do? This saves what? 2 things. 2 things that are very valuable to all of us.
Money.
Time and what?
Money.
All right. So if I've got a 90 to 95 or 99% confidence level, then that's good. Now, why do I pick 90 to 99? Well, let me ask you a question. If you are paying 3 or 4 of your directors, let's say you work at Michelin or you work at whatever company, and you've got 3 or 4 department heads, and those department heads are to give you a report every 6 months and tell you the safety issues of this plant, the blah, blah, blah issues of this plant, blah, 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 the predictions, the past, the blah, blah, blah. And then you're supposed to take that information and you're supposed to do for the next year, whatever the budget or whatever. You're paying these department heads what? Some pretty good what? Money. So you want the numbers to come out to be what? Good. You want the numbers to come out to be reliable. Okay, so you want to take a sample and run it through and predict, because you don't want bad numbers, because we all know what bad numbers can do. It can mess you up for the next year. So why do I want a 90 to a 99% confidence level? Well, you're paying these department heads, let's say you're paying them $80,000 a year. That's $80,000 that's coming out of your company to pay these 4 department heads. Do you want them to walk into your meeting with an 82% confidence level? Why don't you want them to walk in with a 100% confidence level? Well, nobody's what? Nobody's perfect. So the magic numbers for all of you should be 90 to 99. All right, that's the magic numbers. That's called the confidence level, and that's on the previous page. And I just want you to be familiar with these terms right now, because we're not going to do any math right now. We're going to get familiar with these terms. And that's the confidence level right here. I've never heard anybody call it level of confidence. And I've been teaching statistics for about 6 or 7 years. Never heard anybody call it level of confidence. It's always been called the confidence level. The confidence level. I am 95% confident that 60 to 75% of the population will do this. Why? Because I've got a 95% confidence level on the sample. Okay? Or I've got a certain confidence. You don't want to walk into a department head meeting or a division chair meeting or a report to the president or a report to the executive officer and say, well, I'm about 82% confident. You're fired. Okay? Because 80 doesn't cut it. 82% doesn't cut it. Magic numbers, 90 to 99. And if you want to know the truth about it, they really don't want 90 to 95. They want 95 to 99. All right? If you really want to get down to it. All right? So that's the confidence level. The confidence interval. I'm going to go to another page right quick. Here's the confidence interval. The confidence interval is as follows. I'm trying to get back to the other page. There it is. And I'm going to bring in the confidence interval. Now, usually it's numbers, but this will tell you what it is. What's p hat? That's what you calculate. So that's the middle. So you need to take your handy dandy highlighter and you need to highlight that because that's your middle. All right? And then you got to go above it and below it. Remember the standard deviations? Remember that? Go above it, below it. What do you do on the left side? Subtract, Hubert. That's right. What do you do on the right side? Add. Same thing. But the confidence interval is only one. You go to the margin of error to the right, margin of error to the left. That's it. You only go one up and one down from P. I'm sorry, from P hat. Okay? So that's the confidence interval. The confidence level is how confident you are that the sample prediction is representative of the population. So if you are an executive at Michelin and you've done your research and you've come out that you're 95% confident that 20% of the tires that come out of the Anderson plant are going to be defective, then that president or that CFO or whatever he is going to put in the budget or compensate for 20% defections in the Anderson plant next year. Because you said you're 95% confident of the sample that you took, you're 95% confident that 20% of the output of tires at the Anderson do-jigger down here plant is going to be defective. So then the CFO takes that and says, okay, 20%, and we're going to have to recycle that rubber, and we're going to have to do the cost of recycling that rubber and doing that and doing that. And hopefully you've got a 95% confidence level that the next year or whatever you're predicting comes out to be within, 5% of that number. And then if something happens, then either you've done your math wrong or something has happened in the plant. Machine went down or something that makes this and this or whatever the case may be. So the math is not a fortune-telling thing. It's a prediction. It's something that you use to help predict what's going to happen next year at the current rate or at the current trend. So this is called the confidence interval. So now you know the difference between a confidence level and a confidence interval. Confidence level is how confident you are walking into that meeting. I'm 95% confident that my numbers will predict the population for next year or for this year or whatever the case may be. And it falls within 67% and 69% or whatever the case may be. This is going to be a percentage or a decimal, 0.67 to 0.69. And we'll get into that, I think, in 9.2 or something like that. Okay, and that's in the book. So this is in the book. So I don't know what page, but it's in there. Now the confidence interval uses margin of error also, or the margin of error is compensated in the lower and upper bound. So what is the margin of error? Here it is. Margin of error is equal to z, so the alpha over 2, times the square root of PQ over N. And that's the way you're going to hear me say it. PQ over N. Now, if you notice this, I'm sorry. Let me use a rectangle, see if I can make a rectangle. So shapes, rectangle. This right here is the same as that right there, see? So you add the margin of error on the right, and what do you do on the left? You subtract it. Okay? I don't want to put it there because that'll cover up the square root symbol, but I just want y'all to see that your margin of error is what's used in your confidence interval. Capiche? What have we usually added to the left, to the mean, all these weeks? What have we been adding and subtracting to the mean? Well, as a matter of fact, the margin of error is based on the what? The standard deviation. So that'll give you a little bit of a hint what you're supposed to do with it when you do have it. If you'll look at the standard deviation formula and look at the margin of error formula. It's the same, except for a couple of different things.
On the margin of error, is that Z of 1?
Z of alpha over 2. Z of alpha over 2. And I'll explain alpha over 2 in just a minute. This is a section where I got to show you all the stuff before I show you how to do it. There you go. How's that? Is that better? Still can't see it, but alpha over 2. So, you've got the standard deviation, you've got the error, and you've got the confidence interval, and you know the difference between confidence level and confidence interval. Well, what is this one right here? Well, this is the sample size. Sometimes you're going to be given the information and they want to know what size of the sample. What's the size of the sample needed? So this is your other type question you're going to have. These three have to do with one question. This has to do with the other type question. So you got two questions you're going to be asked in chapter 9.1. Here's one question pertaining to those three, and here's the other question.
Incoming transmission.
Okay? This question will say the margin of error is 3 percentage points, and you need a sample size blah 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 blah. Okay, for a 95% confidence level. And you're going to punch the numbers and you're going to come out with 2003. So you need to ask 2003 people in order to get a margin of error of 3 points and be within a certain confidence level. That's what it's asking you. How big is the group that we need to survey or ask the question? Now, one thing that you need to know, PQ, but this one don't have a PQ. Why? Well, what if you're not given a P and a Q? Well, what's the probability of P and Q on a true-false type scenario? 50%. What's 0.5 times 0.5? 0.25. So that's why you've got 0.25 right here. So if you're not given a P and a Q, if they just say 3 percentage points with a 95% confidence level and they don't give you a P or a ratio or a fraction or anything, then you use that second formula. If they say P hat is equal to 0.65, then you would naturally say Q hat is equal to what? 0.35, Hubert. And then you would punch in 0.65 times 0.35, parentheses, Z sub alpha over 2, which is based on the 95% confidence interval. And I'm going to show you to do that next. Notice we hadn't done any problems yet because I'm trying to show you what all this stuff is. If you try to start showing math problems in this section before you explain it, you'll lose half the class. All right. Now, I tried to do it, and I tried to copy and paste it, but it didn't work. So that means we'll just quit class today and let y'all go home. No. Excel. Now, I did this for y'all. Okay, I did it. I had to punch in each one of these by hand, but I did this for all my classes. This is your easy chart to make. Now, what I would do if I was you is if you want to make this chart in your Excel spreadsheet, make it. If not, I want you to take the time right now, and I want you to copy it in your notes so you can copy it on an index card or whatever. Okay? So I'm going to blow it up a little bit where you can see it. Notice I only go from 90 to 91%, and then you go, oh, that's because nobody's perfect, and you don't want to walk into a meeting less than 90% confidence level. That's why. On the left-hand side, that is called CL. What is CL? Confidence level. Starts with 90%, goes up to 99%. Well, what the hell is alpha? Alpha is the complement of 90%. So what would be the complement of 90%? 10. What would be the complement of 91%? 9, and so on. So copy that down.
Priority 1 message coming in on secured channel. Priority 1 message coming in on secured channel.
Now, of course, where can you find these? Z table, or you can do it on your calculator. But the reason I did this, it's kind of like the reason I told you to get a picture of a distribution and copy it 5 or 6 times. Okay? So you don't have to draw it each time. Well, this is to save you from having to look in the back of your book or the table 5 or 6,000 times, or whatever the case may be. So the question will state, I want a 90% confidence level. Boom. When you hear 90% confidence level, the first thing you think of, okay, 90, that means alpha is 10%. Alpha over 2 is 5%. That's the first thing you should think of. This is alpha over 2. This is for a two-tailed test or the first formulas that we're going over, because we haven't started on the two-tailed test or not, but alpha over 2 you're going to see again. And this is alpha. Alpha is the complement of the confidence level. So 50% confidence level would be 50% alpha. 0.65 confidence level would be, alpha would be 0.35. And look, how many digits are these guys? So what does that mean? That they are area. That's the area part of your table. So you look for 0.1000, 0.0900, 0.0800. And then that's going to give you a what? 2 digits. What's 2 digits? That's not rhetorical. I'm asking y'all for input. Z-score. And that's why it says Z sub alpha. And Z sub alpha over 2. Now, if you write this down, my suggestion to you is take it home and then make an index card. So I would probably, you could take a picture of it and send it to your email and then print it out, and then you'd have it. For some of you extremely resourceful people. Y'all thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? Huh? Yeah. What would I say? Oh my gosh, no, I would not want to offend anybody. Everybody should get a trophy. Should have to work hard. Oh no, don't you dare tell me. I don't want to know anything that's a no. Okay. Are you finished? Huh? Okay, I can handle that. I just don't want to know what they say. 4.6. I don't want to know. That's pretty high. No. Okay. So everybody got that?
I have a question.
Oh, what?
The very bottom one, the Z sub alpha. Is that supposed to be a positive?
Oh, I'm sorry. Negative.
Should be negative.
I think I hit the wrong button.
Thank you.
Oh, now you're going into wife mode. All these little nitpicky things. Oh.
That's what like
Wife mode is just nitpicky. Make me look bad. What was it? 2 point what?
2.5.
But I think it should be negative 2.
Thank you. All right, so everybody's got that?
Yes.
Now, you need to make you an index card. How you make it is up to you, but you need to make it to go with your homework and everything. It's essential when you're doing a test to have an index card with this on it. Unless you want to spend the time and look back and do the calculator work and all that. That's what this is for. Okay. So now we got everything out of the way. I'm going to put a problem on the board. Now the first couple will be pretty simple, because it'll be just p hat. And we'll just go with something like this, and we'll just do a random sample of 1,505 people. I can't spell.
Okay, we can't see it.
What? Random sample of 1,505 people were surveyed. I'm just making this up. I just got the numbers off another question, and I'm just making up. Were surveyed about, what's the punishment in schools? Corporal punishment or just corporal? Corporal punishment, right? I'm making this up as I go. About corporal punishment. It's when you used to get punished for doing something. They don't do it anymore. That's why we got a bunch of crazy ass high school students running around protesting and everything. Okay, anyway, we're surveyed about corporal punishment. 1,129 people supported. I know that's a fragment. I'll just put a comma here and it won't be a fragment. Find the proportion and its complement. Well, that shouldn't take you too long. P hat is equal to 1129 divided by 1505. And somebody tell me what that comes out to be. 0.7501 or what? 0.75. Therefore, Q hat or Q or whatever, I don't know how to, I don't use Q very much, is equal to point what?
55.
And that's all P is. So don't make it out to be, and that 1 minus P is just Q. So I'll put Q hat right there so y'all know what that is. And P hat. And P hat is P with a caret symbol on top of it. And I think I showed you that in the last page. And that's how you find a proportion. Now that's one question you might get. Another question you might get, I'm going to go back here, and they may ask you to test the proportion. And I'm going to take my handy dandy highlighter and I'm going to highlight it, color it, aqua. I want you to write down these two tests. That test and this test.
Priority 1 message coming in on secured channel.
Okay? And I want you to do the testing for that same problem that we just did using those two formulas. And I also want you to read that part right here. It says, note, we also require blah, blah, blah when sampling. It's a kind of a test that they give you, so you might get a question that says, show that the sample distribution is valid or something like that. And then you got to use these two little tests. NPQ and 0.05 of N. So, take your handy dandy calculator. Remember, NPQ is greater than or equal to 10, and N is less than or equal to 0.05 N. NPQ. So you go over here. Well, we've got P and Q. So you take your handy dandy calculator. And what was N? 1505. 1505. How did I know that? Because N is always the biggest what? Golly, where have y'all heard that? Times 0.25. And is that number greater than 10? Yes. Most of the time they're going to work. Okay? And then we're not going to worry about the second one because the population of the United States is 1.5 billion or whatever, million or something or whatever. So I'm not going to worry about that other one because 0.05 times 10 million. Is that 10 million? Looks like it. Is 500,000. So yes, to answer that question, and usually they give you something in the question that says it's the United States or whatever the case may be. So in this case, N is less than or equal to 500,000. So it's okay. All right, so let's do another problem.
So you just got 10 million where? Sorry.
The population of the United States. Usually the question will say 500 people were surveyed in the United States. At that point, the United States, the population of the United States is your big N, capital N. And most of the time, these two tests, most of the time they're going to come out to be okay. You're never going to come out with one hardly ever be invalid.
One's there.
Just so you'll know. Okay?
Take a space for break.
Yeah, just so you'll know, I guess. All right, let me do another one. I've got a population. Random sample is equal to 1,068, and 96 people responded to the survey, and you want a 95% confidence level that this represents the population. Okay, now what I want you to do right now is I want you to start finding some of your components. Of course, the first one is P and Q. I'll be right back. I gotta give my daughter something. I think Brian's going to show you how to do it.
So did we say anything at the beginning of the class? Do you open it up or anything like that? Yes. It's open until the clock last night.
Yeah. No, it probably won't be open because he just needs the time.
Did you say it's open? So when? Are you right?
All of the tests are done on 28. And I forgot.
Oh, really? Oh, sweet.
I was trying to find I was trying to get him on Facebook. I was ready to start. I was like, I'm gonna drive it easily, and me and this girl, we're gonna do this test together because I'm lying this month.
I don't see
It dropped me an entire month. I want to be.
Yeah, no,
It was
but all the homework 305.
my niece is like she doesn't like me. It makes her smart. She is down. And I told her, I said, well, now let me understand this. So the finals, start talking about the finals. That's fine, but he's gonna give. Is it gonna be a few more times?
Yeah.
I think it's
What
like.
is your favorite?
The 5 questions on this side go like ABCD, right?
Oh, it's not gonna be 5 questions, it's gonna be like one question, it's gonna take 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So when that final comes up,
That's 20%.
I'm gonna like literally we need to simultaneously sit with laptops, like, give her $10 gift card service, I guess, man, she'll do it. I mean, she's.
And it was like,
Okay, that's a yeah. I mean, really. I texted him last night and I told him, I did math from, I would say from 0 down to 6 o'clock.
That's like a
Until I had to leave to go get my kids. So 9 to 5, and I did it for free. Had my husband bring in the sandwich. I didn't even move from couch. I texted him. That's too much.
I was just so confused on what I'm supposed to do on each one.
So what, we're talking about, you go back outside for a minute, we're not done.
Crap, this thing is bad, stop talking.
What do you mean by that?
We were talking about your test. And how even your stars.
I am very happy. Y'all had an 80% class average.
Well, that was the
I don't know how
hardest
that, who gave us that? Smarty Pants?
No, everybody made above a 70, except for about 2 people.
Except for Miss Bradley.
And the next.
Wait a minute, and this one back here is telling me, this beautiful thing is telling me that you left the test open until the 20th?
28.
No, I did that this morning.
Is that right?
Yeah, we do. I've already done it.
What did you say last class? You said, I've heard that,
I've heard that you learned the homework back
and
will allow us to pick.
the test.
You've already took the test 3 times.
Oh my God.
Look at it again.
I didn't take it, I had one more time.
Now, what were you going to complain about?
Absolutely nothing. That test was wrong.
Okay.
And the dates, like on the easy.
Just answer them.
We're all
Just answer them.
It's not that easy.
Do you want to answer them or not?
I did. I answered.
Did you pick the wrong answer?
I'm not certain. I don't believe so.
Okay, the only answer is the one that's a real date, except for in the past. Please don't pick the day that, Pearl Harbor was invaded. Please don't pick that
That
day.
I got a 64 was because I answered all of your.
Yeah, Hubert, if you wouldn't have had those. Hubert, I got so confused.
I know. It's a conspiracy is what it is. I want y'all all to fail.
No, I really don't think that you did.
Okay, so let's do this problem. First thing is we gotta get P hat. Come on, close it. Once you find a couple of pieces, then all you have to do is look at the what? The formulas. The formulas tell you what to do. Unless you just don't want to look at them and don't want to learn them, and then you'll just be lost.
That's nothing like a puzzle.
P hat is equal to what? Well, we've got 1,068 and then 96 responded. So somebody give me that decimal. 96 over 1,068. I'm sorry, what?
0.09.
09 what?
0.089.
That's why I'm asking. I'm asking, tell me what the
0.08988.
0.08988.
Yep.
And we'll leave that right there. And yes, you could say that's 0.09. I'll put or. For my purposes on up here at the board, I'm going to say 0.09 because I don't want to have to subtract that in my head. So Q hat is equal to, you could either do the opposite of 96 over 1,068, or you could just say 0.91. So here's something for the formulas, and here is something for the formulas. P hat and Q hat.
I do 0.91. Okay. Nothing.
Okay, nothing.
It's the
You got it?
I got you. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now, 95% confidence level. Well, that tells me I've got to go to my spreadsheet thing that I'm supposed to copy.
I had it right here.
Okay, so 95% tells us that I've got an alpha of 0.05, which means alpha over 2 is equal to 0.025. Now, alpha, my z-score for alpha is, we're not going to need, but you may need it in the formula later on, is what?
What?
What's my z-score for alpha? 0.05.
Negative 1.65.
1.65. And what's the alpha over 2 for 0.025?
Negative 1.96. Oh, wait a minute, that's wrong. Sorry. Yeah, no, it's right. Negative 1.96. Look, I'm
I'm Hubert.
Stayed up all night doing math homework.
Oh yeah, it was my fault. Now, I'm going to go back and I want you to tell me what can I use this information for. Let's go back to the questions. Here we go. Could I do the standard deviation? Yes. Could I do the margin of error? Yes. Can I do the confidence interval? Yes. I can even do, no, I don't have a margin of error, so I can't do that. So I can't do, there's only one formula that I can't do, and that's this one right here. So I don't want, now what do I want? I want the upper and lower bound. That's what I want. So I want you to find the upper and lower bound of, be two numbers. The upper and lower bound of, I'm going to just bring it over to the question. Just hold on a second. Let's get back to the question. Is that it? I'm going to bring in my handy dandy formula. I'm looking for it. I think it's this one. I can't see it. Yeah. And I'll blow it up for you. Anytime you got a question, you look back at the what? Formula. Actually, all you need is the margin of error. Because you already got p hat, don't you? So you can pull that one in. Margin of error, where is it? Well, let's pull it in. I can't remember which one's margin. I think it's this one. Is that margin of error? No, that's not it. Okay. Yeah, that's what it would be. I didn't even look at the bottom. Go away. There. You can just use that formula. Now, the way that you get your answer is different. This one, you put P into the formula, so therefore you just come out with the lower and upper bound. Here, you find the margin of error, and you add it and subtract it to P to get your numbers. So I don't care how you do it. Some people think this is the easier way, so I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to do error is equal to, what's my z sub alpha over 2? 1.96, Hubert. I'm sorry, negative 1.96.
How did you get 95%?
That's right here.
It was in,
Yeah.
Square root of P, well, P is 0.09 times Q, 0.91 over 1068. Now, I'm sorry. That's pretty much plug and chug. Now, can you imagine me trying to explain this while I'm doing a question? It wouldn't go over too well. All right, so we take our handy dandy calculator. And spread this out. Y'all just have to bear with me a second. Everything I do in here is for y'all, so y'all just don't bitch. All right, there we go. Why were you going to rate my professor, Miss Bradley?
Well, I was over here looking up somebody else, and when you pull up something, like off to the side, it shows like the high, the teachers that have the highest ratings, and you want them.
Oh, got something to tell
I was
you.
trying to tell you something.
I was given a Math 120 the next semester, so if you need Math 120, I'm teaching it.
I need math 120. What's this 120? Are you telling me I need it again?
I thought this was 103. Which one? Okay.
Are we
Well, those of you that know people that need a Math 120 next semester, I was given an extra class And I wasn't, next semester was the only semester I haven't taught 120 in about 6 years.
I think I'm gonna take you on 155. Is it? Oh, no, I'm just asking you.
155 is below this class.
Oh, I know. Like, aren't you like a little bit smarter than 155? By like lightly?
What do you mean?
Do you have to like dumb yourself down to teach 155?
Mm-mm.
Is it complicated?
I don't have a problem dumbing myself down. It doesn't take much. Yeah, it's natural. Yeah. All I gotta do is walk faster.
Because I want to bump my GPA up, and I need some 80.
Well, I would highly suggest taking 103 after this class because the 2 units in this class, the first 2 units, are the first 2 units in that class. Yeah.
Is quantitative harder or the same as this?
I think it's easier because it's not all probability and statistics.
Jacob?
The only, like, most of quantitative reasoning is this.
Jacob, she pushed a button like, Jacob?
Yeah,
Like there's a computer on board.
I know that he
was on it too.
He had you last semester. I
Yeah,
remember that.
the hardest part is the task.
Yeah, and that's the end because I don't go over Unit 4 because I think Unit 4 is a joke, so I don't cover it. So we only do 3 units.
That's the only part.
Jacob was saying it's hard, and it's probably like I might help.
He did not say that. He said the only hard part was Unit 3.
Which one did I have last?
You had 155.
This is witchcraft.
No, it's not.
This is not.
It's not that bad. You want to see witchcraft? I can show you witchcraft.
That's the thing. You have a different teacher.
If you had a different teacher, and you had to come into a class and sit down and write a test,
You would, yeah.
I would fail that.
Well, I've always said that the way it's presented is a whole lot to do with the failure rate of the class. The way it's presented. Oh my gosh, that is the worst, probably the worst teacher I had ever. And I dropped him after 3 days.
So cute.
He's very nice, but he just
So cute. No?
no. Don't say the word. She'll tell you after I stop recording.
You know Miss Ward? She teaches prop sci too, and this is a cakewalk compared to her prop sci.
I've heard.
I went to all of her office hours, just me and her, and I was hoping she'd give me some kind of pity or like feel annoyed with me being there, so she just bumped me up.
Nope.
Yeah, I finished with a D in there, and I was like really putting in some hours for
How
that
close were you
class.
to the seat?
I think I was really close, but
I would lean over her desk and I would say, give me that.
Divided by
well, she'd probably beat me up.
1068 equals, and then I'm going to raise that to the 0.5 power. And I'm going to multiply that by negative 1.96. It doesn't matter because you basically, the negative, you got to add and subtract, so the negative works out, so you don't have to worry about the negative. So what is my margin of error? 0.0172, or 2% margin of error. You remember you here on these polls, you got a 2% margin of error? That's where it comes from. So the margin of error, if I was to use this for calculating, I would use 0.0172 is what I would use. Okay, and then I would take that. Now, if you want a confidence interval, right now this is just margin of error. Confidence interval would be 0.09 plus 0.0172. Now, for instructional purposes, I'm going to round to 2 decimal places so I don't have to think too much. So I'm going to put p hat right here, just in the middle, and I'm going to put, here's my confidence interval. What is 0.09 minus 0.02? What's 9 cents minus 2 cents? So 0.07. And what's 0.09 plus 0.02? Point what? 11. So I am 95% confident that the population is going to fall between, the people that responded is going to fall between 7 and 11%. And that's what you're finding. I just found the confidence interval and the confidence and the margin of error for this information right here. And that's how you do that type question. That's the type of question that remember I showed you all 3 boxes? That's that type of question. Okay? Let's do nerd. Or I could just give you one of each and just let you, lay them to slaughter if you want me to. Meh. All right, so the sample. Wait a minute, did I give y'all 1505?
Yes.
Oh, but that was the first one, right?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to do the confidence interval for this. All right, so let me go back to that problem so you don't have to rewrite it. Let's go back to this problem, and I'm going to add, and I'll add a section B to it, and we'll color it. I guess this is blue. I'm going to say B. I want a 95% confidence level of those that are in favor. I'm just going to say in favor. So you need to find a 95% confidence level. So that means where did I go? I was trying to blow it up for you. There we go. Find me a 95% confidence level. I want to know the confidence interval of a 95% confidence level of those that are in favor of corporal punishment. Yeah, but if y'all know anybody that needs to take Math 120, I didn't have one until yesterday. So you need to tell people I'm teaching it here.
I told she's taking Matthew online.
Well, that is rough. That is rough. That one's rough.
Yeah, she is. That's the one I was.
Well, I had a great idea about this. I just put it on. They changed him from online to
She's a home one. Yeah, that's the one I. I mean, she was glad later too. Yeah.
I think the only thing really about this.
Do you have any online 120s? Semester, Hubert? Any online 120s?
No, just this one this semester.
You're talking about the later classes?
But she doesn't hear.
Remember, I had to push fast for easy. So we can do
He
anything.
was amazing.
Who you have
Matthew Turner.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
for 102?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different department. That's a different department. We don't teach those classes.
Yeah, he was so cool.
I know the biology was supposed to be.
Really?
Look at me.
Microbiology. I always go to California. Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's different.
Like, they're not right people. License. I took, 2 in my class.
Oh, gracious.
What was his name? His wife was
Oh,
Have you had, Irving, and Matthew Wade is a really good ball.
What are y'all talking about?
That's who I have.
Calculate, there we go.
Johan's pretty good. Awful.
Marion's,
Yeah.
Karen Grassway. Right. Karen Grassway.
Yeah, I take her, we've taken her like a couple semesters. You sure you know how to do that? Oh, I don't really.
That test,
Okay, if you hit stats,
test, and then go over test, and down to 5.
Okay, wait. Stop, hit, next,
well, it should be asking for the confidence level. It's not asking for it.
I'll go over it, like, on there.
Let's see, 0.75. And 1129. 1505. And it's not asking for the confidence level. It's supposed to ask for the confidence level. Unless I'm supposed to do 2. Hold on.
Oh, it's,
Which one is it?
gotta go down to like, I think A.
One prop. Okay, there it is. Okay, A. There it is. Go to prop, Z-I-N-T. That's what I was looking for. So your X is 1129. Your N is 1505. Your confidence level is 0.95 and hit calculate. Look at there. Ain't that nice? So there's your confidence interval, and P hat is 0.75, but there's your confidence interval right there. So I am 95% confident that the population is going to be between 73 and 77% in favor of corporal punishment. I'm 95% confident. And see, that's how you do it.
$35, I got a Facebook page, Hubert gave me a TI-85, but I can't follow it because it's easy. So I found this one.
So did you get mine to work? You mean the batteries wasn't in it?
I put batteries in it, new batteries.
And it didn't work?
The screen is like, that's got.
Okay, we'll just throw it away then. Because it's not worth anything. I didn't know. Somebody.
Okay, I appreciate the
Mhm.
offer. But this one goes.
Okay. We good on that one? Why not? What? Yeah, no.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's okay, I'm gonna have to watch you do it while you know.
What do you have a question about?
A lot. I don't even know how you got to the one prop Z, INT, or.
Okay, stat,
Hold on a second.
and go down to go over to test,
Stat,
and test,
test.
and go down to A. You know what prop stands for? Proportion. This is a proportion. That's what P hat is, proportion.
Okay, got that.
Hit enter, and then put in X. What is X?
115, 1129.
And N is always
1550.
the biggest number. And then what's your confidence level? 0.95. Don't put in 95% because it won't take it. You got to put in 0.95.
And I hit calculate.
And hit calculate and see what you get.
In between 73% and
There you
77%.
And you're 95% confident that the population, based on this sample, is going to be between 73 and 77%.
Largest number, right?
N is always your biggest number, yes. 0.95
Got 0.95.
and calculate.
Okay. I'll do it. We'll do it.
Okay, let's do a problem about sample size. Let me go to, I didn't write one down, so I'm just going to pull one up. All right, look at this one. I gotta blow it up, of course. Write it down because that's the second type question you'll have in 9.1. This is the second type of question you're gonna have. We went over the first one. So you're going to need this formula. And I'm going to need to do this. No, I can't do that. I've got to cut it out. Snip. I don't know what problem this is. I'll just say N. And I'll bring it in. Computer. And I'll bring my calculator in. And this, and that, and this. And unfreeze. And bring it back down. There. A researcher wishes to estimate the proportion of adults who have high-speed internet access. What size sample should be obtained if she wishes the estimate to be within 2 percentage points, 2%, with a 99% confidence level? Oop, 99. We need to pull up our handy-dandy chart. No, we don't want to have to look it up all the time. 99% confidence level gives us this information right here. Oops. Where'd it go? There it is. So I'm only interested in that negative 2.58.
Wow.
Because it's z sub alpha over 2. And remember your formula.
How do I know that that's the formula?
Because you know your formula. And the formula says what? N is equal to, I gotta find it. Where is it? That's test, that's, what is that? Yeah, sample, this is called the sample space or something like that. There we go. There's your formula. Is everybody looking? Sample size. That's why you need z sub alpha over 2. And we're going to have to calculate the margin of error? Nope, we already got it. It's 2.02. Plug it in right there. All right, so crank it out and go ahead and do the second formula too, because they're going to ask you to do it for B. Or, yeah, they're going to ask you to do it no matter what. So do both of them, both formulas. Snip. Snip. With P. And snip. Snip. All right, we're gonna get rid of this guy. And we're gonna bring in with and without. That's with P. And then we're gonna bring in without P. Now, the first question that I get on these problems, how do we know what to do? Well, what did I tell you that the trick to probability and statistics was a long time ago? You have to what? You have to think, and you have to, starts with an R, read, okay? Because the math is not that hard, but the problem is, so what I mean, Hubert, well, I'm going to go through and I'm going to highlight what we have. Let's see, 99% confidence level. I'm going to highlight that blue, and that gives me what? That gives you your z sub alpha over 2.
And E is error, and that's 0.02.
That's 0.02, so I'm going to take my highlighter. I'm going to highlight it. And that goes here and here. Now, my question is, on A, what do you think 0.34 is?
It's Q.
Not Q, but
P hat.
P hat. So 0.34 is P hat. Now, how did y'all know that? Because the formula will give you directions. Whatever. Okay? What I'm trying to show y'all is that, do you have everything you need? Yes. I do not give you questions on a test that you do not have everything you need. Okay? And you put not enough information. I do not do that. This formula is telling you what to do. Yes, ma'am.
1 minus P is Q hat.
Always, yeah. So N is equal to 0.34 times 0.66 times, well, I'm going to wait a second, and I'm going to put 0.02 on the bottom, and you're going to take your handy-dandy spreadsheet, and you're going to look at it, and I'm going to pull mine up, negative 2.58.
99%, is that what you're talking about? 0.99.
Yep. Negative 2.58. And then you take your handy-dandy calculator and do it. And I'm going to do it because this is the way you should do it. Okay, if you're using your calculator, you should go from the parentheses out. So, negative, I ain't worried about the negative. Why am I not worried about the negative? Because you're going to square it, Hubert, and it's going to become a positive. That's right, class. Divided by 0.02, and then I'm going to raise that to the what? Second power. And then I'm going to multiply that by 0.66, and then I'm going to multiply that by 0.34. So we need to get at least 3,700 surveys out. N is equal to 3734. Now, on these questions, are they going to ask for a decimal? No. In one episode, Andy Griffith was telling his son, Opie, that there's only 1.6 boys that doesn't have a coat. 1.6 children do not have a coat. And what do you think Opie said? How can you do that? and what you say, have 1/2 of a boy or 0.6 of a boy or whatever he said. And he said that's a ratio, oral ratio. But the whole point is, why are these questions not going to ask for a decimal? Because you can't have 0.6 of a survey. You can't have 0.6 of a person. So you're either going to round up or you're going to what? Round down. You're not going to give them a decimal. Because this is basically talking about number of what? People. Number of surveys.
Where's the square?
What?
Breathing into the second vowel.
That's the caret symbol. Now, B says, what if she doesn't use a proportion? Then you use this formula. B. This is B. And this is A. So B, we don't even have to, we just take negative 2.58 or 2.58 or 2.56. Oh my gosh, I was right. You were wrong. Oh my gosh. No, it's just usually women don't, they're usually not wrong. They're always right. 0.02, and see, once you realize that, guys, you'll be a whole lot happier. Okay. 129 raised to the what? What? Am I not right? Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. As long as if men realizes that most of the time the women are right, they'll have a whole lot happier life.
They just won't hear more than two.
Yeah, exactly. They'll live a happier life.
Happy life, happy life.
Mm-hmm. So that's 16 blah 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 multiplied by 0.25. 4160. So you're talking a difference of what? 400 surveys? So it really doesn't matter. Now, if you were talking about 10,000 surveys, it would be. But 400 surveys and you're already ordering 3,800 surveys, 400 is not that big of a deal. And that's how you do the sample space. Or the sample, what do you call it? Sample space or something. Now, let me show you what we're going to go into Thursday. Right now, you're responsible for 9.1. 9.2, 9.3 is nothing, so we're not even going to spend any time in 9.3 because it's like just one little box and that's it, and they don't even have hardly any questions in the book. I don't even think 9.3 should be there, but anyway, when you look at 9.2, we're going to get a little bit more meat into it, all right? Yep. Estimating population mean. Talking about T distribution. All right, we're going to be moving along. So make sure you're here Thursday, okay? I don't know.
We have 2 weeks left. This
Yeah.
week's 2 days and next week's 2 days. Tell me a little bit about the final.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What do you want me to tell you?
I want you to tell me, we had discussed that it was 5 questions and that you had to give a final in the classroom because somebody told you you had to.
That was when I did the end of class, but I'm not doing those. So I just give y'all online. Unless y'all want an in-class test.
Is there a final that is probability and statistics? Because before you told us the online.
I pick them out of the 4 tests.
Okay. So it's basically
The 4 tests.
1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 5 questions?
They're usually 20 or 30. And it's 2 hours.
2 hours.
But I usually cover that the last week of class.
Well, that's now.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
So it's next week. We have these 2 days.
Y'all are getting the cart before the what? Y'all getting the cart before the horse. Don't be worrying about that.
Do a really nice review.
I don't do a review.
Why?
Because you've got the test. I don't make any new questions, I just pull them off your old test.
When you say that you pull them off the old test, it's not.
I pick them up, and I drag them over, and they change the numbers. That's all.
Exactly.
Well, I'm not gonna give you the same questions, you forget that.
Just cooperate.
No.
I read like.
Listen, I'm already getting crap now, and I give questions online, and I'm getting crap. So, y'all better be happy you're getting what you're getting.
Oh, no,
I appreciate it.
I'm a lot happier when I can answer this.